All right, my friends. Oh, I have to adjust something here. It has been a while. People saying they're in withdrawal because there hasn't been any dojo Twitch. I've been sick, dude. Uh, last, what was it? Last Thursday, I wanted to do this show. Couldn't do it, dude. Dead. And now I'm still sick, but I'm determined to do this thing. I feel like if I don't do it, it's controversial to do it because maybe it's going to be bad for my throat, which really kills me. But if I don't do it, I'm just lounging around the house like I've been doing for the last week, Wasn't really able to play the tournament, dude. I drove up there had to basically drive back right away. So, huge bummer. Dude, COVID number 4. Number 4 I've had this thing, man. And the first time I had it, it was really bad. And then the next couple times, it was just like nothing. And then this one's just killed me, dude. Absolute destruction. Anyways, that's my tale of woe. Let's get into it. When we look at this list, first of all, it's been a great week at the dojo, man. Site just continues to go great. We had a sale for like Black Friday, a lot of new people signing up, so that was cool. All right, now check this out. We got a lot of, let's call it, there's a lot of graduations here, 25. Okay, but a lot of them are what I'm going to call fake graduations. These are people who are either in the wrong cohort or maybe they're just showing up and they haven't done any work yet and they've kind of, put themselves in a new cohort. Let me just pause for a moment. And so I'm going to skip a lot of those people just to give other people the chance. So, for example, King Jared, I don't know what that dude's doing. It's this guy right here. He's actually, when you click on him, dude, he's 1437. 1437, boss. So I don't know why he's starting at the bottom. No idea. So I'm not going to cover that kind of graduation. Let's check out DBL Click. All right, this seems totally reasonable on the other hand, right? Okay, cool. So let's follow DBL Click. Let's click an activity. And we're going to go back one. That's pretty good. By the way, we are in the, let's call it, stage of the dojo where we're going to be looking at Dojo 3.0. What goes out of the Rex? What comes into the Rex? How do we shift things around? Every year it gets better. And, this last year, of course, the big one was just our site. It was a huge redesign. And even since then, Jack has just pushed it to the limits, dude, of making it awesome. Anyways, that's a whole other story I could go on about. So, we got a great tactics here. Dude, everyone's first chess workbook. Like, that's going to stay. People love that, dude. That's going to stay. Dark Squared Knight, thank you for subscribing. Okay, good time breakdown, too. Let's see if they got some games. Good. Let's check out one of these games from DBL Click. Ooh, not a good one. So I'm not going to look at a game like that. That's a computer analysis. Please don't submit games like this to the database. Don't do it. Those are also computer-generated annotations. Let's see if we got something here. Yeah. Okay, and we're seeing this a little bit for the lower cohorts. We're seeing people who don't understand what an annotation means and are putting it into there, right? Let's just click, for example. So, right, like they said annotated games. No, you haven't done any annotated games, DBL. Now, I'm not yelling at you for the sake of yelling. There is a way to annotate games. We talk a lot about it on this channel. In fact, if you watch the rest of the show, you'll definitely see some people who do good annotations. It doesn't mean you got to be a genius. Far from it. There's just a little bit of humility looking at your moves is what needs to be done. How to beat your dad at chess, huh? Okay. I'll put that. If someone says something, we have a doc and we put everything in there. And we'll probably do something a little bit more big asking for feedback. So, that's great, DBL Click. Great job, dude. And next up, we got Sturmwolfe. I am almost at 500, actually. So I'm guessing this person, for example, just got here, and then bumped themselves up. It's really actually, so what they've done, actually, they're in the wrong cohort. So and this is a little bit confusing, I get it if you're just new to the dojo. So they're thinking that the ChessCom Rapid rating is the rating they should be at. But in fact, normalized, that goes to 276. And when people come to the dojo, they automatically get shuffled into, or we tell them what their cohort should be, But still, we're having trouble getting people in the right cohort. Yeah. Okay, Sturmwolfe, check it out, boss. You need to go and demote yourself to be in the proper cohort, which would be the 0 to 300 cohort. Okay, so then we get Pamroni, a similar thing. Hard to say what's going on here. I don't know. So that's Pamroni. I think these are just people who are new and they're putting themselves in the cohort. This looks like someone did some work. Let's check it out. Maybe granddad in Gaelic. I don't know. But that's a really good graph, dude. Yeah, I always love, especially if you get somebody in the under 1,000 and they work some, and you can see that immediate boost that they can get. And 100 points, this is great from Granddad. Okay, so look at activity. And we're going to back it up one. Lots of tactics, I like it. That's a good, somebody's focusing on their tactics. It's paying off. Yeah. I love how everyone's first chess workbook. That's one, I think of all the books, the most universally read, if not liked. That looks great, man. Time breakdown looks great too. All right, let's look at some games. No games. So if we go in here and click on that, we got blunder games and cohort games. Fine. So Granddad, you're gonna make it, dude. You're doing some good work. You just joined us a couple weeks. Yeah, and we're gonna look again at the ratings. You'll get there, boss. You'll get there. That's a beautiful graph. Look at that thing. Abdul, I forced Abdul to join the dojo and he graduated. We're gonna check him out. Then we got Kai. Let's check Kai out. Kai is is that called a parabola? Is that what that's called? Let's take a look here. So also fairly recent, coming up over 700. And we're gonna go back one. That's some good work, okay. And let's see, maybe we'll have a game here. We do. I believe it's Oscar Mike here. Okay. Great. So it's Elite Chess Study. Oscar Mike is black. And honestly, this is a great annotation. Even though I disagree with it, I think it's a great annotation. And just if Oscar Mike is reading this, the C3 move has some ability to maybe play for D4, opens the queen, and does dominate your knight. Is it the best move? No. Okay? And your move, I really like because you're taking advantage of the fact that you can't get popped by the knight. So good move. Okay. Good move. I like this castles move a lot. I like that a lot, Oscar Mike, because you're just saying, Bows, I'm going to develop. It's weak, in my opinion, giving you the D4 square. Not really developing fast enough. That's got to be a good move. We could also, I think we should have talked a little bit more about your options instead of, like, could you have played E4 in this position, for example? Looks kind of like it, right? Yeah. Good move. Good move. Oh, Wow, that's a fancy move, boss. Bishop c5. And I think this is an example of where we want to just give yourself a little question mark here, because you could take this bad boy, or even just take that knight directly. Whereas here, you might not win a piece immediately. Like here, for example, the dude should play knight takes f3. And yes, your position's great, but it's not 100% over yet. Check to the miserable king. Look at this stuff, man. Phew. Okay. So one of the things I want to say about this is a common thing that I'm writing about it in this book we're going to put out called How to Analyze Your Games. But I say this in almost every grad show. In the under 1,000 cohort, we see a lot of great descriptions, but few variations, right? And few question marks. So, for example, you begin your mistaken idea here, and here would have been the point to wonder about what would have been the correct move, right? What would have been the best choice? And yeah, it's, we gotta write it out. For example, this is confusing to me too. Is there a forced win? I'm not immediately certain, but I'll tell you what looks good is check, knight d4, king goes somewhere, and take this beast. And maybe there's something better than that, but that's definitely ending the ball game, right? Okay, Kai, great job, dude. I'm gonna follow you here. Kai's gonna let's check him out again here. Ratings. Yeah, that's a good. It's always nice, in the under 2000s, under 1000, you can really make some great progress pretty quick here. All right. So, just making sure no one's yelling at me in the old Discord. Hi, Pepper Chess. All right, let's keep going. So that was Kai, and now we have Roberto. Roberto, dude, you're in the wrong cohort, boss. Maybe you were in the right cohort here, and then you fell down. Something happened, boss. Maybe you graduated, man, and then it just all ended. Yeah. Maybe that's kind of what it looked like. So let's presume that that's what happened. And let's go activity. Go back one. That's pretty good, dude. Pretty good. Very nice. And then we'll look at some games over here. You know what I want to do? I want to fix my layout a little bit. I want to fix this layout. Just make it a little prettier while we're here. There we go, bows. Okay. So Roberto's putting in the good work, and boom. Chess Mind Coliseum. Okay, I like this a lot. So game 50, delay 5. Forgot my line. Okay. Let me say something obvious. This is an example about where you shouldn't be thinking about theory, because your opponents are going to do weird stuff with e6, like e6. Why is e6 bad? Because it blocks the bishop. Maybe that's something we can write. And that's why, one of the many reasons actually, Dojo says, don't study openings until you are around 1200. And even then, just start with like a response to e4. Pepper Chess, thank you for the sub. All right, so here we go. Good move. Good move. We would want to talk about some of these things. And this is a good point to think about. Notice again that when players below 1000 do their annotations. They give great words, but very few variations. And let me just say first, before we talk about the variations, that this is a good place to talk about chess in general, where we would say c5 is not a developing move, and also that it's opening the position when we, being white, have a lot more time, right? A lot more development. And so the value of time goes up when the position opens. We can't do that much to him right now, for example, right? But when the position opens, that's where we can really hurt them. Now, we're going to say bishop b5 is motivated by the fear of this getting trapped, right? But the issue is you are going to fix this bad piece, which was the whole problem behind e6, which is one of the reasons when we're back here we want to say, oh, bows. We just want to note it to ourselves. We want to say, oh, the guy just made his bishop bad. The whole reason Karo players play the Karo and not the French is that they get a bad knight on b8 instead of a bad bishop, and they make fun of French players because of it. But then when they play e6, you got to say to yourself, bows. That wasn't it. That wasn't it, right? So, for example, the default move for you here should just be to take on c5 and say, fine, you spend another tempo taking that pawn back. I will continue developing, and the party will continue. Fine. You know, I'm up in time. You are the one opening the game. So, also, I think it's great you noted that the time's spent on the clock time, and you should definitely have spent more time than this on bishop e5. Nota bene. Here, you are not using basically any time here. And I'm sure what that reflects, and this is really one of the reasons we want to analyze our games, is you are all amped up, right? You are amped up on the game, you know, adrenaline. And so, you know, don't do it. Don't do it, just slow down. In addition to bishop d7, knight c6 is a developing move. Bishop b5 is, of course, not a developing move. Okay. And then that looks like a mistake. That also looks like a mistake. And now Deuce plays d takes e4. Again, variations need to be checked. For example, what is happening on bishop c5? And I assume your intention was bishop f6, right? But those are the kinds of things that need to be checked. Yeah. And if e5 loses a pawn straight up, then we should say, hey, bows, that wasn't it. That wasn't it, buddy. Oh, you were black, boss. Sorry. Sometimes it puts the right person in the right spot. So, first of all, I want to take something back. You were thinking over here, and your opponent was not, right? So, and when you're saying you're out of book, let's flip this around. When you're saying you're out of book, you know, you didn't understand the idea of the opening. Let's put it that way. So again, apologies, I thought you were playing white at first. Okay, now at this level, losing a pawn isn't that big of a thing. AB I kind of like because now your rook is out. How impressive this is, I don't know, because you are, it's not a developing move, right? Okay, instructive mistake by white. The king should want to be closer to the center, and by castling short, dude would also immediately develop his rook to d1. That looks like a blunder. Good trick. I think, yeah, okay, good trick. And that's just a plain blunder, dude. Okay, again, it's variations. He blundered his bishop, and that's what might be game. we have to now do some variations. For example, is b4 going to get his piece back? Maybe. We got to check, right? These are the variations we want to look at. Why might it get his piece back? Because if I move my knight somewhere, let's put it here, then maybe this doggedy dog is going to get me, right? Position, though, is still actually very unclear because our rook gets active, right? Okay, these are the variations we want to write about. And in fact, what happened is we just blundered our piece. So again, in the under 1,000 cohort, the thing that is going to determine how fast you progress is how quickly you stop hanging stuff. That's it. That's it. There's going to be other stuff you're learning along the way, how to develop pieces, maybe some names of some openings. That isn't that important. Learning to develop. But the pieces, hanging the stuff is going to be the most important thing. And, the whole thing with the blunder games, of course, also with the annotations, is you really want to be laser focused. When did my opponent hang something? When did I hang something? And, Abdul is noting knight b5 is even easier. But we still got to do it because we are now getting juice with our rook, right? When I say we, I mean black in this position. Of course, we got to play knight takes d6, and we got to analyze el consecuencios, right? And as long as that knight moves, this is at least a kind of interesting position for black. It's not 100% how to evaluate just off the face of it, right? Okay, so Roberto, good job, buddy. And I think it's clear what you need to do to go forward, which is always a good thing to know. All right. And Bilbo, to me, what it's an example of is opening knowledge doesn't matter. In fact, it confuses people at this level. Imagine you're black and you knew nothing about Caro-Kann, Shmaro-Kann, right? And you were just like, oh, e6 is bad because I'm not getting my dog out. That's it. Right? That's what we want to be thinking about. Okay, next up we have Firehawk. Let's see what's going on. Firehawk is in the wrong cohort, my friends. Wrong cohort. So I'm not gonna do it. I don't understand the wrong cohort thing. Then we got Marco. Marco is also in a radically wrong cohort. What's going on, Marco? Now, yeah. Well, maybe I should have some sympathy. I mean, just blast it off. It's blasted off, dude. What happened, Marco? You take some drugs, buddy? Did you take some drugs? Yeah, it might be provisional. Okay, let's check out Marco here. I like his face. Marco's doing some work. And what we really got to do is we got to go back to this cohort. Did a little bit of work. Yeah. Some tactics. Well, that's great, dude. That's great. He's working on his tactics. Spent some hours on his tactics. Okay. And we do have a game from Marco. Let's take a look. Marco's white. This is a game, what is it? Game 30 plus 30. Okay, end of theory here. Fine, as long as you do things that make sense. Okay, it is spicy what you're doing. I have no problem with that. And Queen H4, we should think about G3 here for white. So King D1, probably a mistake. Queen F4. Now this is a spicy souse. And this is what you write. I think this is a critical moment. I took the pawn, sure that I'd be attacked by rook f1. I evaluated castles long, but maybe I did not calculate it deeply. SF marks it as a blunder. Okay. Now, what I think he's saying is that he saw rook f1, rook f7 castles. Now, this is an example of maybe the computer leading you a little astray. Because queen f4 is definitely interesting. By getting rid of the f-pawn, you secure your center, and you're saying to yourself, I don't care if you give me some check over there, buddy. I don't care, and my queen's going to pinball. I'm going to do a little pinball over there, right? So I think queen f4 is definitely interesting. It's not evident to me on the surface that it's necessarily a mistake. Yeah. For example, let's say you did play knight f6 and dude played knight c3. Could play fe2, you know, but knight c3, you still have the question, do I want to play queen f4? Still totally legitimate thing. And then, of course, I guess it's blocked, so maybe it would go like this, and either c3 or knight c3. It's not, you should be doing great, by the way, because king d1 was such a horrendous move. g3 had to be played. But like I said, this is interesting what you did. All right, here we go. Big question where to go with the king. You went to this one. I'm not sure about that move. And the computer has something with c3 and queen c4. Okay. And what's wrong with white's play? White has no feeling for the loss of time that's happened over here. Okay. That looks like a blunder. But look at that. You tricked him. You tricked him hardcore here. Look at this, dude. Boom, man. Marco, man. What a move, dude. What a move. Check to the miserable king. Get out of here, Mr. Queen. Ah, there we go. There we go. Marco, that was a great game. So I think, Marco, I'm hoping you're an old dude like me. You know, you got the smile of an old dude. And so I'm hoping, dude, that this is just, you're just crushing it, man. And I'm hoping the dojo helped you get there. Yeah. Oh, people are saying maybe that's a one-win graph. Maybe. We go click on it for a second. No, dude's got 1,597 games, boss. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so here we go. Next up, we have Harold, who has graduated numerous times. Let's read. Oh. After double check, my Lee Chess rating set a different cohort. Yeah, dude, you're going to be up. We're going to graduate you again, boss. We're going to graduate you again. All right, here's what Harold says. I have really good periods of chess and really bad periods, so I've been hesitant to graduate in case I bomb down the ladder again. But both my Lee Chess and ChessCom are more stable this month and indicate I should graduate. The programming definitely makes me a more rounded and knowledgeable chesser. Thank you, Dojo. Nice. And as you can see, my friends, we're dealing with somebody who is working. Now, in the lower cohorts, you'll oftentimes see graduations with numbers like these. That is not that many dojo points. As the further you go up, the more it's going to take to graduate. And I really like, Harold is like doing the honest work here. And Rid wants me to refresh the list. Okay. It might not come up, by the way. Might have sent you already to next week, Rid, which, you know, if it's to next week, it's next week. By the way, last week I missed the graduation show because I was sick. I'm not even sure I'm going to get through this whole stream, but I'm trying. I am intending to do last week's graduation tomorrow, if my throat, you know, is still alive. Okay, so next up we got Harold Who. Let's give him a click. 64 years old. Nice. I would love to be doing some altitude mountaineering, man. Man, the meds, man. I got some medical stuff going on this week. I'll tell you about that. I like this quote. Chess has all the joy, pain, and hard work of mountaineering. Let's give Harold a follow. So look at the progress, dude. Welcome to the dojo. Look at that. And you can see Harold really has been pushing it in the last several months. You know, both ChessCom and Lee Chess, and is definitely qualified to make it. Probably, like he said, could have graduated earlier. Yeah, so this is the good work. Oh, I'm enjoying this a lot. Okay, so let's look on the activity, and we're going to go back one to see how we got there. And we're looking at lots of end games, some Silman. Nice. Okay, back to cohort. Then we're going to check out what they do middle game strategy. Great. Okay, back to cohort. Then we'll look at tactics. Beautiful. Back to cohort. And now we're going to click boom. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, great. And great work, Harold. Great work. Let's check out a game of yours, boss. Look at this. A big thank you to Nicholas Vasquez for being my valued plus reviewer for this game. Now, if you're just joining the stream, you have no idea what that means. At the dojo, we have a philosophy of plus minus equal, meaning that if you are rated higher than somebody, it is actually to your benefit to look at games of players below you to give advice. And the point is, for Nicholas Vasquez, that Nick gets to put into words his own chess thinking, his own chess philosophy, to try to be articulate about it. And that, of course, is the benefit of Harold as well. And someday soon, Harold will probably help out some people in the lower, under 1,000 cohorts himself, right? Okay, so let's give it a click around. And A6. Let's just say something hilarious, Harold. I've had this position 22 times with a 70% win rate. Okay. Yeah, it's a terrible move. Makes zero sense. I think it especially doesn't make sense against C4. But we're going to leave it there. So, D6. Okay, I like your notes. E4. Now, my gut is that you are playing a setup. And something about a setup, this is usually called like a Botvinnik setup, is that you aren't necessarily punishing this fool for doing the things that they're doing, right? Because what you're going to do in the next two moves, you're going to play two slow moves, E4 and H3, while your opponent has broken the rules, right? And so when they break the rules, we want to hurt them. It's just the way it is. Nothing personal. So what would be the right move in this position? Well, for sure, knight F3. We'll see what comes next. Maybe we'll play D4 next, but we know, I feel, that knight F3's got to be played. So this is an example, again, of somebody knowing an opening and it not helping. Because what White's going to do is he's going to play the setup and then now just miss the chance to take advantage of a useless move. When your opponent plays A6, you start up one tempo because you're white, and after A6 you're up two tempi, and you say thank you very much. Nice, Andrew, nice. You know what, Andrew? Let me just throw something by you, and this maybe is interesting to other people as well. Is we are thinking that the dojo would be great for clubs. And here's the thing. So there's two ways the dojo could work for clubs, man. One is sometimes in the United States you have very informal clubs. They're not playing teams or anything like that. You know, like Jack is in this Austin Chess Club. And where we could do is like have a club membership so people could get a discount there who are in the club. But for more, Benjamin, thank you for rating me, boss. Me and Benjamin go way back. Sometimes I rate him. This is the graduate show. Every week we just look at the people in the dojo who graduated. So they made it out of the next 100-point range. So then the next kind of club is where Benjamin boxed from, over there in Europe is they have these great competitive clubs. Here in the States, we have, high school teams and college teams. Anyways, dream of the dojo is to get, let's say, a team membership where they get up to like 20 spots, and then, they all get dojo memberships, and then they can have their own scoreboard. This is the dream that we've concocted. I'm really into, and I'd love, I've taught teams before. I taught an elementary kick-ass team before, and if I had had the dojo, it would have given me a way to put them all in one place, and it would be like, here's a task you can do when I'm not around. Here's how you can do them, and I can then see, and your teammates can see how you're doing, And so when a club buys a membership like that, it would be like, Bows, this is for us to win. This is for us to win, All right, here we go. Knight of 6, H3. Weird. Okay. Okay. Again, your opponent is not appreciating time. A little bit awkward, yeah. And that looks like a loss of a piece. Okay. Good. Thank you very much. So notice that at this level, people are still hanging pieces. A lot of times I make a crude demarcation about people below 1,000 hanging pieces. No, that still happens, of course, right? It still happens. And that was a great pickup, and now we're going to check out your follow-through. Frisky and wrong, opening up the light squares, losing a pawn. Check the miserable king. Poor. Thank you. Thank you also not only for the pawn, but for the light squares. Thank you for the piece. It's just the yard sale over here. Check to the miserable king. It's a little sad to get rid of your knight, but I guess you're doing fine. It's hard to complain these days. It's just hard to complain in positions like this, Okay, so Harold, dude, you're making progress, and I love that you are, pushing the boundaries as an older dude. I need to push them too, man. I've been so sick recently, man, but you're doing it. Look at those graduations. So Harold is, I guess, what we could say, one of the power users of the dojo. Someone who's really making it work. So, yeah, your own club in Scandinavia could be its dojo club. That we could definitely set it up, dog. We could definitely set it up. And Jack that's like one of the to-do lists to set that kind of arrangement up. And I'll start going on a selling mission, dude. I'm so pumped up about that idea. I definitely know as a coach I would have liked to have that kind of thing. And also, the number of people, especially in COVID times, are like, oh, Jesse, would you coach this and this team? And it'd be so cool to just be like, listen, you just need to organize the kids to go to the tournaments and to sit down and play together. That's all you got to do, and just follow the program, and you're going to kill. You will kill the other teams. Harold, congratulations again. Let's go back. Okay, next up we have Jaybird. Let's check out what's going on here. Nice graph. Good. Let's follow Jaybird. That looks like some good work. We're going to go back. Good work. Yeah. Let's see what tactics are going on. Ah, that's what I like to see, huh? Some Polgar mates in 2 vows. Yes, sir. That's what we want. Look at that tactics over there. 16 hours of Polgar mates in 2. Yes, sir. Oh, I really like it, man. I think this is, Polgar mates in 2, always, for GMs too, great practice. David Pruess is like a basketball player who thinks he doesn't have to do layups, That's the arrogance of a lot of higher rated players. But the benefits, dude, just coming through here, Okay, so let's check out Jaybird over here. Okay, and what do we got here? It's a rated classical game. All right, and we're going to have the times too. This is pretty popular. I don't respect it. Now, right, e6 is actually in the dojo repertoire as a simple way of dealing with things. And after knight c3, there's a number of different moves as well. Let's just say about f3 and e6. e6 obviously looks wrong because we're blocking the bishop, but f3 blocked his knight and also created a number of other problems for white. So e6 is just a simple way, especially if you're comfortable playing French structures, of being like, bows, I'm fine, I'm fine. Okay, queen b6. I don't know if it's free. Is it free? Because I think what you need to do is you need to ask, what about bishop b4 here? I think that's my big question. I think then the line continues bishop d2. And then maybe queen a3. And I guess I like you here. I mean, I like you anyway. Jay Bird, I like you anyway. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. It's pretty hot. There might be some kind of rook takes b4. I don't know. It's a little hot. So, bishop e3 is a frisky move. And now c5. This, again, is probably asking too much of the position to play c5. I'm not sure it's a mistake. And I like what you say. Because see, with this position with knight f6, it's hard for me to evaluate it. If you can castle soon, you will have compensation because this pawn on f3 regrets its existence. Yeah. Okay, so. Now it seems, I don't know, my question would be, why isn't white playing knight takes d5? So we definitely want that as a variation, right? So, check to the miserable. Queen e4. Good move. I think we should also say that king f2 should be a variation of ours here. And so notice you have a little bit of development for your lost pawn. Castles. Rook ac8. Bishop b3. Knight a5. g4. This is actually a fairly reasonably played game here. Knight d4 was better. I totally agree with you. And then my problem with bishop e6 is, right, what are you going to do on knight d4? But you came up with this interesting move. Okay, that's interesting. So now the intention is here, here, and hopefully we're claiming that that's a big deal. Definitely we should have a little bit more variations here. Like knight takes, pawn takes, rook d7 is a big question for me about just what is happening there. I'm not sure. Now, I definitely don't like knight c6. Now your bishop's beautiful. Definitely don't like that. And now, Jaybird, let me say something, boss. This is where you can really learn to do a lot of stuff. And bishop f3, maybe, but we need to do more variations here, boss, because if you go here, you got to say to yourself, oh, if I did not intend bishop g4, then letting the rook in here was incorrect. Because now look what happened. And now you're just trading off a bunch of stuff and you're down a pawn, right? Yeah. Again, this is the place to look. So, for example, if I'm analyzing this, there's some really fascinating questions about, like, okay, I'm down a pawn, but my bishop is awesome. how do I evaluate this position, right? For example, if I don't like bishop f3, I would be interested in rook fd8 to stop the knight from landing here and to get my king a spot, right? Then we might see something like here, 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 here. And then the question becomes, is white ever going to do something? Or is something like rook d4, is that going to touch his coconuts? These are the variations I would want to check out. It doesn't even end. For example, knight e2, rook e4, king d2. I don't know. These are the kinds of variations we want to talk about. And when we talk about f4, I'm not even sure that's such a bad move. He's the one who made the mistake of making your bishop good, making a weakness on f3, right? And knight d5, good move. Do you have to take it, bows? Maybe, but maybe you do. Maybe you do. Okay, so good variation. All right. But I think he's doing great here too. Knight d5. And here you talk about king f8. Okay, let's look at this variation. One very important piece of wisdom here is that I would really like to play bishop takes e8 here, not rook takes e8. Because the rook and the bishop are a better combo, and you know, even though we're down a pawn here, it's going to take a lot of work for white to do stuff. Whereas this position is just pure suffering. We have zero joy in this position. Absolutely zero joy. Our king can't do anything. It'll never be able to approach. He's going to massage us good. He's going to massage us really good. Probably lost. Okay, and then we blundered it. Good. Okay, Jaybird, just a couple notes, great, of mine. You know, some things to think about in the annotations. But in general, good work. One thing actually I want to talk about briefly as well is maybe you should have played queen b2 and yada yada. But I want you to see about c5 here is it's a reflection of the fact that you feel uncomfortable in the position, right? You have a variety of other good waiting moves. You don't have to play for c5 immediately is what I'm saying. You could play knight f6, you could play bishop b4, you could play knight d7. We're in no hurry to do anything with c5. Okay, great. Let's go back. All right, next up is Truck Score. And he says, saw Jesse's comment about needing to graduate, so here I am, boss. Nice. Didn't get to play too many games since joining the 12 to 13, but I did manage to improve my ChessCom rating and have been holding my own against more established 1400 plus players. I feel I'm getting a greater understanding of my play in the game as time goes on, and the dojo program has certainly been helping my chess. It feels bad not completing the task, although I know that is not the intention. I've covered less than a third of the Morphy book, just under half of the logical chess book, and barely started the most instructive games book. Given I paid for the physical versions, I will hopefully revisit them from time to time until I complete them, but I'm looking forward to the new tasks for my new cohort. For some reasons, I find trying to follow annotated game collections to not always be fun, but I suppose what work can always be fun. I found myself doing more and more random tactics lately and finding it hard to stick with the dojo recommendations as I exhausted the tactics and endgame work for my cohort, and those were some of the things I looked forward to the most. In fact, he was complaining, Trux was complaining on the Discord about not having the tactics in the endgame, and so I was like, all right, let's go check it out. And I was like, Bows, you need to graduate. You need to graduate. I started doing my repertoire against d4, and I'm looking forward to continue to expand upon it with every game I play or a new idea I see. Great, dude. Great. Okay, so Truck Score is definitely one of the people who's been crushing it in the program. As you can see, definitely with a normalized rating. Truck Score had won like a tournament up there in Canada. Yeah, I need to go back to Canada, dude. They invited me to go play in Banff. And I played up there, dude, with Alberta a bunch of times with oil money, dude. They invited GMs for like, we got some oil money. Come on up, dude. We'll give you a plane ticket and stuff. You know, come on up, play these tournaments. So I really enjoyed that. That went back, I think, 2005 or something was the first time. Maybe 2004, first time I went up there. Anyways, Canadian chess, pretty cool scene. Let's go look at the activity. And you can see, dude is crushing with the tactics and the end game. And I think one thing Trucks was saying actually was like, look at my business and notice that in terms of time, it's easier to get the end game points. Might be kind of true. We reward leg day over here at the dojo. All right, so let's go back and see how they did it. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful amount of stuff. Not that much games and analysis. Let's look at the tactics real quick. Look. So you see what he did? He jumped out right at 1470. Because 1471 is where it gets really hard. And that's the cool thing about going up, man. Once you start going up, you start kind of doing the sweat work, you know? It's like one of the great things about the program. It's like forcing you to do the hard stuff. And I'll tell you, once you get Bulgar mates 1471, we're entering another level. Okay, so that looks great. And we're assuming that was a bunch of Silman. Great. And do we have annotated games? We're going to hope so. So let's go to Trucks over here. And here we go. Winter Frost Open. Okay, great. I assume this is the Canada tournament where Trucks had a good event. Okay. Boom. 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 Okay. Right. So this is a old-time variation that I had a student once that loved to play this as white. It's interesting. Definitely we want to talk about Queen H4 and Queen E4, right? We want to talk about Bishop B5 too. Like maybe Bishop B5 is some kind of theoretical move, but it doesn't look right to me. Why? Why are we pinning the thing? I'm going to go ahead and shout out that D4's got to be the correct move. And that would kind of put the question to the knight of like, did you really want to go there, buddy? Was that really the move you wanted to do? Okay, and I think these times are correct. So Trucks did think here on Queen H4. I'm not sure I really want to trade queens like that. The simple Bishop E7 in castles looks pretty good for black. D4 is a weird move. Why didn't we take on D3? Didn't take because the C2 pawn looked weak. Now Bishop D7, by the way, is setting up a great and known trick with knight E5. And we would still have that trick after ED3. And you kind of note that here. Great. Okay. So Bishop takes C6, gotta be a mistake. You know, no lo puedo play like that. So Bishop C6, knight E2, Bishop E7, okay, and here castles I'm not a huge fan of, Trucks. And I think you're right. You want to be thinking about the C4 move too. So it's a very rich position. Let's just say that we need to believe in the black position, but it's still very, not super easy how to evaluate this thing. So, for example, again, what I said, as we go up in the cohorts, what you'll find is the stronger the players are, the more they're going to drill down into variations like this. Because B6 ain't it, Bows. That's not where we want to go. First of all, what do we want to do? We want to open the position if we can. So, two moves immediately come to mind. I don't know if they're any good, they just come to mind. The first is F6, and it does give me the heaves, but here would be the main question. Can he do that to me? And then that to me. What is black trying to do? I'm trying to open the position. White's trying to close it down. Still looks pretty. This would be the question. Can I do this? It looks pretty good. If I get that bishop down there, Bows, that's a real thing. Yeah. So bishops want to open the position. C4 is frisky, of course, because they're not developing. Your bishop e7, to my mind, looks good because we want to play f6 to open the position. And that's why I definitely want to play f6 here. Notice I don't really want to castle yet because I'm not sure my king wants to go that way. I probably want to castle long. And so definitely this move here, f6. Okay, so castles. White should be thinking about c4. Okay, this gives him a free developing move. I'm not sure about that. Bishop c6 would, of course, be sad because we were just there. So it seems like bishop a6 would be the only way to kind of logically follow up on bishop b5. Nota bene that bishop b5 is not a developing move. What would be kind of correct? Well, f6. That's at least the question I want to ask. Not a developing move. So maybe you got to do it, but I would like to look at other things first. Not sure what that does. I definitely don't think it's equal. I definitely don't think it's equal, Bows. You're either winning this thing or, it's a real question. Is white gonna be able to do something on the light squares? Can he start kicking you around the light squares? You own the light squares, by the way, right? So yeah, that's my real questions here. Now you're talking about f6. To me, it's just like, I thought your whole setup was to go here, Bows. I thought that was the whole idea. No one understands. By the way, at this level, what you often see is a bunch of going back and forth, and they don't know what to do. And you often see it in the annotations too, where they stop annotating. So, rook f4 is definitely the move that we should be talking about. Correct. I don't get it. Okay. I'm not sure I get it. Now, no, I don't like this move. Because you are helping the king come to e3. The king wants to come to e3. And so now, for example, the move a4 looks even better. That would force a real question from you about what's going on. Nota bene, when you castled, one of the reasons I wasn't thrilled about it, because I was like, maybe your king is going to be no bueno, and his king's going to be bueno, And so here, a4, I think he's winning. Why? Because his pieces are more active. And it's surprising because he's been a real chump with all these moves, No one knew what any of those moves were about. And even without a4, I still like his position better, especially after the bishop g5. He'd love to put the king on e3. Okay, so here we go. All right. Definitely weird because his rook was doing something on b1. My suspicion is that he also didn't see that the b6 pawn was in trouble. Finally, we get that Dao out. Good. We gotta get the move. Okay, now it's gonna get spicy. One thing, again, is you should say what you think dude should have done, right? Just say what they should have done. So, for example, my concern in this position is that his king can become active. So imagine e6, rook f8, king e3, rook, and then something like pawn, rook, pawn, knight g3. And I know you could have taken on e2 there too, but ideally I don't really want to take that piece. And then to try to evaluate this position. Now, king e3, maybe you're just winning here. I doubt that's it. ed4, cd4. Okay, and you definitely, those are good variations, Truck. See what he's saying here? He's saying cd4, and you're basically slamming him. You're totally slamming him. And what's cool, too, is it's kind of like a position like this, it's not quite a Polgar mate, but you use the patterns of the Polgar mates to really, like, start seeing the squares. So with bishop c4, dude is like, oh yeah. Like, it might not actually be a mate in two, but we can see that white will have to start giving us stuff to avoid the mate in two, right? Great example, too, of a super strong bishop there on c4. Yeah. So, rook f3, and I'm assuming we blundered d5. I saw this in advance and thought if the king was blocked on the fourth. Oh. Okay. No, it's a pretty good game. And yeah, it's also really cool, Trucks. I mean, you're putting in the work here, dude. You know, like, we had various things along the way, but dude, you're learning from these mistakes, man. You're definitely learning. But yeah, dude, you're gonna make it, man. I like Truck's course. That's great, man. That's great. Look at those graduation belts, Bows. Look at that thing, man. Look at that thing. Yeah, that's pretty great. Also really cool that Trucks has switched over to the over the board rating too. Also cool, like, rated, his other rating is close to there as well. Yeah, that's really good, man. Okay. So next up, I have a feeling that's not a real graduation. No. It's just maybe somebody joining the program and then immediately hitting the graduate button. What's going on? Oh, piffle sticks. Dude, let me tell you guys a story about piffle sticks. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to go find this dude's YouTube while I tell the story. So this dude is somewhere in England, and he's on this journey, dude. And he's like, I'm going to quit my job, boss. I'm going to quit my job. And I'm going to just do chess all the time for a year, boss. For a year, okay? And here's his YouTube here. I'm gonna put this link. And I'm gonna be doing like the dojo. The dojo is gonna be the way for me to be making my progress. And I'm like, dude, I'm all in. I want to hear this story. And the YouTube has like a first couple, like a video a day, and I think he's streaming now. I haven't found his streaming info yet, but I'm sure I'll find it soon. Super cool story. I love these stories of like somebody who grabs something for a year, maybe they, for whatever reason, girlfriend left you or whatever, and you're just like, Bows, I'm gonna go for it. I'm pumped, man. I'm really pumped. Now, the sad thing is, Pifflesticks is not in the right cohort. I think he joined, and maybe he actually briefly made it, and then lost it after he hit the graduation button. Let's go ahead and say that that's what happened. Right. Okay, cool. So in any case, the real question is, will Pifflesticks stick with it? I'm sure it'll get hard. Are there other dreams? Like, does Pifflesticks dream of like a YouTube following or a Twitch following? Very hard to make. The Dojo doesn't make any money, dude. Really, Twitch or YouTube, forget about it. So that might be a struggle too. And then there's going to be kind of like some rubber meets the road. And a lot of times you listen to Chess Improver podcasts and stuff, and it's all, oh, I'm doing great. This is the great things I do. Dude, I want to hear about the hardship, man. I want to hear about it like, well, yeah, I got crushed by all these kids, dude. It's not looking so good. That's it. And it's a real, like, if you can fight through that, well, that's the struggle I'm interested in. And certainly that was when I was on the path to GM, dude. Oh, I was getting crushed back and forth, Dude, tales of woe. So I'm just trying to say I'm into this Pifflesticks, dude. Let's go see what he's done so far. Just joined the dojo, by the way. So, not that much has happened yet. Let's see if we got a game. Oh, we got a game. Let's go look. Pepper Chefs is sub to Fiffle. Nice. And so this looks like a 60 plus 10. Okay. A Piffle is black. Means he's a little weird, but it's okay. Okay. Fine. You're doing fine. You're developing your pieces. White's not doing anything special. Okay. Good. Good. You're doing great. You're doing great. Okay. So one of the things, Piffle, you'll see is you're going to play a lot of chumps like this that, you can just play natural developing moves in the opening and you're going to get a better position, right? Now, here you really go for it with E5, bishop E3, and C4. And maybe it's a very frisky way to play. So it would be good for it would be to your benefit to like think about what's happening in the position and then to try to analyze some lines. So for example, let's say we got this. How do you evaluate it? Do you think you're better? Well, what do you think? Because you had other options here. Another natural one would be D5. And you're definitely doing great. There's just no doubt about it. You're threatening D4 and E4. And let's assume the dude has to take for a second. And it's like, holy cowabungas, we're doing some stuff. We're opening up the business. And here we can talk about a 2-bishop advantage. We're going to talk about that real soon. Okay, so that's just little things maybe to think about here. And now you're going to win a pawn. Thank you very much. And you have the advantage of the bishop pair. Thank you. Knight G5, clearly just a chump move. A lot of times you play these people, and they're, especially online, and they don't know what to do. So they're just going to move around, make random threats like that. Not a huge fan. So I know it looks really appealing, but your bishop is already in there, right? He's in. And you're going to slow the game down considerably when you play E4. So just on a principled level, the moves to look at would be rook FE or maybe even rook AE8. reasonable question to ask you. However, did we miss here? No, we're fine. Queen c6. Quiet, Jesse, quiet. h4. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things to talk about in your analysis here would just be a plan. Now let me talk a little bit about why I don't like e4. This is your unopposed bishop over here. He's a god. When you push this pawn, you limit the potential of this bishop, and you limit your bishop's, the d3 light square bishop's scope, vision, whatever you want to call it, right? And in general, when we have the bishops, we want to open the position. We don't have to force anything yet. Like I said, it's just a casual rook move to rook e1. Looks pretty good. Okay, so queen c6 and bishop f6. It feels a little bit like you're playing for tricks. What is the positional problem? The positional problem is he's got two pieces that can fight for the dark squares, and you only have one. Your dark square bishop, right? And it would be great if we could push this bad boy up, but it's not easy to do anymore, right? So this is the opportunity in the analysis to do a little thinking about, well, what should I have done? I think a great idea would be to play for b4 and rook b8. Try to put a rook down on b2, for example, you know? And yeah, also we're trying to utilize this thing. So bishop f6 is a way of talking about it. Is you're just making superficial threats in the same way this jump is, right? Okay, maybe a reasonable move. Again, you're putting your pieces on the light squares. This gives him more dark squares to control. Notice how this boy is pretty, but not actually doing anything. I'm assuming white could have also played h5. Queen b7. This might have been a good moment to say, hey, Bows, do you want to trade queens? I don't know if I love that move, but okay. Good. And now you give him the dark squares. Now it's a little dangerous, okay? Now it's a little dangerous because look, the knight's doing stuff, talking to the d5 pawn. He is on you on the dark squares. Queen a6. Now, what is this? You're going for some easy chump threats, okay? So, yes, you dropped the pawn, but that's not the main problem with queen a6. It's that you're playing without a plan, not realizing also that there's some real danger on the horizon now with things like queen g5. So you want to talk about what you needed to do and what the eval was here, right? So, for example, I think you need to guard your pawn. And then we got some variations to talk about. One piece of good news for you is that on queen g5, I think h6 is kind of annoying, and then you can play g5 next. But that's something to talk about. And then also, interesting for white would be rook e3, playing on the dark squares, and maybe also queen h4, playing for h6. Again, playing on the dark squares. In all these variations, we need to recognize that the queen has to come back to her man because your man is in danger. So imagine even if your queen, even if this pawn wasn't hanging, this queen g5 here would be really starting to really crawl up into your dark squares. Okay. So here we go. Snip. Notice knight e3. I don't know if it really belongs there. Why does he do it? Because he's got a cheap threat of knight f5. Okay. Check to the miserable. Why did he play queen h4? This is a check. Now he's helping your rook come out. Good. It's interesting that you're just totally not interested in trading the queens. Yeah, that's definitely a blunder. I realized once I played this move that the threat on the knight isn't real. Okay. Yeah. Again, in the annotations, try to say what you feel you should have done. Because what you need isn't a plan here, right? You need some kind of approach. He's definitely blown it, even though he won his pawn back. But how do you do it? You know? Okay. Blunder. Thank you very much. This is how they go down. So Piffle Sticks, dude, I'm pumped on your journey. I hope you make it, dude. I hope to see you again on the Graduate Show. I feel pretty good about saying that, you know, you're going to be playing a lot of classical chess. If you play a lot of classical chess and do the program, I feel pretty good that you will at least make a couple hundred points of progress. At some point, of course, it's going to get real. There's going to be some kind of plateau, and then it's a character moment, a character building moment, right? Okay. So again, I'm into it, and for both the joy and the hardship of your journey, boss. All right, let's go back. Okay, now we got Blue Skies. Blue Skies, boss, you're in the wrong cohort. Totally wrong cohort. Okay. So, Jay Grossi looks like no, wrong cohort. People graduating. We gotta come up with some way of dealing with the incorrect graduations. So, next up we have Onyx. I would like to join the 15 to 16 band. Okay, let's check out what's going on. Well, boss, there's a reason you shouldn't be in the 15 to 16 band. You guys, listen up. Joining the band is about achieving the rating. That is what it is. Okay. So, where am I? I'm lost. So now we have Mark, and Mark is doing some serious work. I live in Metz, but I come from the center of Paris. Nice. Our boy Pruess, dude, he's living up in the Normandy in this rainy, like English kind of landscape, you know. Oh man, probably commit suicide by the end of the year, but maybe as a reaction to suicidal thoughts, we've learned that his wife has allowed him to travel to this beautiful tournament in Barcelona, dude. How about that? How about that, Mark Galichet? How about that, boss? So he's going to be playing with Kostya in December down there in Barcelona. A luxurious one-round-a-day event. Okay, so this looks great. And let's look at the activity. Beautiful. Doesn't look like we have any annotated game. Oh, I need to go back one to see how they got here. Oh, dude, Mark is bringing it. Mark is bringing the work. So, just an obvious thing, I say it all the time, the further you go up in the cohort, the more hours, the more dojo points it's going to take to get to the next level. Right? So, let's click around a little bit. Beautiful. 14, not the 1471 yet, but he's getting there. Yeah. Got some endgame action. Beautiful. Okay. Let's see what books they're reading. Beautiful. Yeah. I like that there's just a touch of openings going on here. Let's see what they did. What model games were Z4? Okay. All right, let's give a click here. See if we got a game. No, we don't. Bummer. So if I go this one, I click this one. They did some postmortems and they've played some games. Well, Mark, dude, yeah, you're doing great. Clearly, there's a lot of people in your position where they don't feel comfortable yet doing the annotations. And one thing actually, here's the thing actually, Mark, if you're listening to this. I was talking to David yesterday, and you know, he's living there in France. And he said something interesting where he said, problem with, let's say, getting dojos, we were talking about clubs, to get clubs using the dojo as like a club membership. Places like in France, they don't all speak English. Or he says most people don't speak English, which is a little bit surprising to me, but maybe it's true up in the Normandy. Maybe they're not speaking English, or maybe they just pretend not to speak English. We wouldn't be surprised. Our boy Pruess, of course, is almost a native speaker when it comes to French. In any case, two things I want to say about it in terms of mark here. If you want to annotate your games in French, I have no problem with that. Dojo has no problem with that. Two, we realized that we've never used AI in anything, but we could use AI to translate our stuff to all the major languages, dude, right? You just be like, translate this page, and it could translate it, And it would be like, you could say, this is my default language, and be like, boom, boss, here it is. So that's a dream of ours that we're working on. So, Mark, beautiful. All right. Next up, we got Pawn Shop. This might also be just this looks like just a graduation that just kind of happened. Maybe they joined and were like, I got to go up. All right. And then we got Marianne. All right, let's see what's happening here. So Marianne, looks like they've been doing it for a while. Looks like they could have graduated earlier. Haven't been doing too much, but they're doing, what are they doing? What are the non-dojo they're doing? They're doing a lot of non-dojo stuff. A dream of Kostya's is for us to develop like a parallel website where people who, let's say, want to do other dojo stuff and they just want to log it, that we could come up with a way of doing that. And maybe Marianne here is an example of somebody like that. No games. Yeah, because it's clear they're doing their own stuff and they're logging it. And it would be cool for them to be able to log it in a more specific way, like I did some tactics, I did some this, I did some that. Frenchmen won't, Germans can't. Yeah. All right, here we go. So that was Marianne. And now, next up, we got Omi. What's going on, Omi? So Omi's just graduated. Done some work. Let's see how they got there. A little bit. Okay. And let's click on some tactics. We got some good maiden twos going on. No game. So my guess is Omi joined fairly recently and has yet to become completely diligent about the program. But, it looks like they could have graduated up here too. Yeah. Okay. Great. Congratulations. And next up, we got Wilches. And good growth. Let's see how they did it. So, a lot of players like this, it's a little bit hard for me to know exactly what's going on, Is it something where they have been doing a bunch of stuff, but maybe not logging it, maybe kind of casual about the dojo? Because clearly, you get that kind of rating gain. Clearly, you're working on your game. You're doing something. Right? But I don't know. Hard for me to judge a graduation like that. Okay. So, next up, we have Abdul. Now, Abdul's a fun story, man. So, first, let's read what he said. I really don't like the way that I graduated from this cohort. I played a lot of 10 minutes to keep myself away from anxiety that I feel in my live games. I feel a lot of pressure, a lot of my stuff in my life, but mostly from my father's surgery that he will have this Monday. This is not an excuse, but I'm doing what any member of the dojo should do, and that is to express myself to the senseis and other dojo members. Okay, cool. So, Abdul's been hanging around in the chat with me when he was like accompanying me on my lonesome journey, on my openings quest. And one of the interesting things to me about Abdul is he's got a terrific memory, even though he says he doesn't, And I've met a couple chess players like this who maybe they don't have some huge rating, but they can remember things that chump GMs like me just can't remember. If you look at YouTube videos like Carlson, Aronian, their memories are just like, mind-blowing memories. In any case, various positions we were talking about, and Abdul was like, oh yeah, that was such and such for such and such last year, a lot of positions like that. I was like, oh. And so originally I thought Abdul was like 2100 or something. But Abdul's story, as I understand it, is he has started fairly recently. 19 years old, 2022, right? And something I want to encourage him on is I think he's kind of saying to himself, I can't make it in chess or yada yada. The way you're playing right now, the way you're moving, look at this graph, you should at least give and why? Because he's saying, I started too late. Now, yes, you started too late, but a lot of people actually started late. And you've got a great graph. And maybe Super GM isn't in the cards, but you should at least give it a taste. You clearly have a passion for it. You're growing. Give it a taste, like piffle sticks. You give it a 1 year of piffle sticks. It doesn't even have to be like piffle sticks. You're in college, it's fine. A couple hours a day, boom, you can make good progress. And then you can see where to take it from there. Okay, so Pepper Chefs started at 42. There we go. All right, so now we have activity. And as you can see, dude is pretty new to the dojo. Let's see when they start. They just joined the beginning of this month on my exhortation. That's my fault. And so sometimes I get confused by people writing me on the Wix. And not the Wix, on Discord. Let's take a look. We got a game. We do. I have not yet seen any games of Abdul, so this will be interesting. So, boom, 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 boom. Okay. Right, so D5 is the normal move. This is a little funky. And white plays C3. C3 is a very ambitious move. I kind of like it. Yeah, puts you under some pressure. And D takes C3 is, we can argue about it being principled, but it is frisky, and I'm with you. I think I would have rather played D3, hoping for equality. Now that knight's really strong, man. I don't know about H4. I'm not into it. I definitely think that for the annotations, we should think about castles. Okay, so you played 96. One thing I would say is that a good way to approach a position like this is to ask what has to happen first. Like, we're not really sure what white's going to do next. What has to happen next? And to me, I want to look at castles, right? I want to look. Now, maybe you're afraid of something like knight g5. Maybe you should be, right? But that's the move we want to take a look at. It's castles. All right, here we go, 96. I don't understand that move. Okay. One interesting, I think, maybe in fact here, I'm gonna do a narrative. I think you played 96 thinking that you were stopping knight g5 or bishop g5. And white also said, oh, he's stopping it. But he should be all in now, dude. He should go. Just do it. If you're going to play h4, you better play this, and then your intention is to castle next. Yeah, that's some, and he's talking to you, right? He's talking to you now. But this isn't it. Bishop b3. It doesn't jive with h4. And you say you're strategically toasted here, but boss, you got a castle. You got a castle. You know? You got to do it. I think you're in trouble. Well, first of all, you're in a little trouble right here, right? But for example, I'm not sure I believe in that. And then this is our question. And next move, we're definitely going to play d6. Once we get a chance, and we will get a chance to play d6. And it's not clear to me what's happening here, right? If knight g5, I think we play queen e8. And we're threatening bishop g5. We're denying queen h5 because we have enough juice on f7. Spicy sauce. Spicy sauce, right? Okay. So, Abdul says he was worried about bishop f4. Maybe you should be. Maybe you should be. But what are we going to do? We're going to play d6. Castles. And now we're going to move our bishop on c8 somewhere. Right? Bishop g4 or bishop e6. Those would be the variations to consider. I'm not sure which is best, but I think in terms of annotating the game, I would look at both of those moves. We are happy anytime they take, because that will free up our queen and we'll get some juice going, right? Okay, so let's just call it loss of time. Bishop b3 also looks like a loss of time, and that's a dumb move. We have good notes. Yeah, you can't be playing chess like that. I don't know why he has a small advantage now. He seems to like strategically have blown it. And we should look at bishop h4 now. Thank you. If you want to give it to me, Baus, I will take it. Now I'll take it. Okay. The problem is I saw a lot of engine games where the pawn land on h6, the game will be strategically over. Okay. And here's your sample variation for bishop b7. Okay, but let's talk through it here. Bishop b7, knight d5. We'll play knight a5. We're going to trade off his junk, right? If he takes on e7, we say, thank you for developing my queen. Your queen is the biggest problem. And one of the biggest problems with b6 is with d6, you're aiming to get a little juice, little squares for your queen. And with b6, you're not helping the queen. Right? So for my sample variation, bishop b7, h6, g6, and probably rook ad1. And yeah, he has compensation, but it's still a lively game, right? Maybe rook e8 now. Okay, so h6. And he's, yeah. Dancing around, creating one-move threats. Good. And what I'll say, and we talked a little bit about this with other people, is at this stage of your development, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. So you talk now about king h7 and then instead maybe playing knight g5. One question I would have is, Baus, can I just do it? What would happen? Is it really a threat? I'm not sure it is. Maybe maybe bishop e6 first, but I don't believe in that either. But here, in any case, we have this one. And it's looking pretty good. So yeah, that's some of my questions. And then knight e4 could be a little scary with bishop h6 ideas, but then we got that move, you know? So we always want to check, could we just develop king h7, check the miserable king, and now he does it, right? Now his bishop is set up on the right square. Now we definitely want to think about other moves besides GH. Like, what is the evaluation on rook e8, for example? I don't think you're totally done yet. All right, so here we go. GH, queen h6, f5. Okay, so you stockfish here. Check here. Now, what I think I wanted you to do in this is to write out, when you played GH, what you thought was going to go down, right? Like maybe you missed something. Maybe you missed how strong bishop g6 was, right? And then before you look, and you can use the computer, but try to tell us and yourself what your assessment was, right? Like maybe you didn't think it was anything for white, right? Possible. Okay, so here we go. Now, and then they get frisky and go for it with bishop f5. And here's a very interesting moment, and the question is very simple. What do we think about this position? I want to stress that for myself, it's not immediately clear to me who's better and why. Right? If your king doesn't get hosed here, then we can hope that your minors can become very active. Yeah, and maybe right. So Abdul, one cool thing about you joining the dojo is dojo culture is you can use the stockfish later, but try to evaluate it for yourself here. So, for example, what are we talking about? If you can get your bishop and rook activated, then you stand a great chance of simply being better, because your pieces are just so violent, right? So I don't care about the stockfish, okay? But this would be my human variation. Rook d1. And then if the first thing I'd look at, I don't know if it works yet, would be queen g8, rook d7, rook f8. And then I'd be concerned by queen g6. Okay? But the party doesn't end. Check this out. My minors are very strong. Imagine just for a moment, snippos, hippos, crippos, send that rook back somewhere, and then maybe d2 is more accurate. And then I play knight f4, and I will get the pawn back, and my bishops are animals, dude. They are pissed. They are pissed off. You know? They are pissed off. And analyzing a position like this with human eyes, you can get a real sense of the dynamics here. You know? There's a lot of chess positions like this where sometimes the rook is better, sometimes the pieces are better. And especially here, what I see is your bishops, if I was white, I'd be terrified of those bishops just wrecking me. Because you're going to some position with two bishops versus a rook, oh man, oh buddy. And it's hard to see what white does to you, and it's easy to see the kind of stuff that you can do to him. Okay. So, knight d4. What's the problem? I want you to see this, Abdul. You're not appreciating time, because here you're losing time. Again with the stockfish. Boss, check it out. What does white need to do? It needs to mobilize the pawns, engage the rooks. So, sure, knight d5 is a move. Another move that makes a lot of sense is just to park the rook on d1 and ask you, Bowers, how are you going to unravel? I don't understand that. Again, I feel like, boss, you got something against the bishop on c8? 4 move, loss of time. Check to the queen. Oh, he's just losing time everywhere. Yeah, and here we got okay. So this is not only about Abdul, this is about a lot of people at this level. People giving away time, and then you're just gonna get raged upon. So, boom, G7. A little too fancy. That looks like a good move. And so we have the variation of Queen D7. And you talk about Queen D7 and Bishop F2. Fine. I still have some questions about it. Like, is it winning? Probably. Good. Okay, that's good variation. If that didn't work, we could talk about 95. So, thank you very much. Nice move. Nice move. Nice move. All done. Okay. Dude, Abdul, you're doing great, man. You're doing great. So, welcome to the dojo, first of all. I'm glad you're here. And I really believe, dude, if you, let's say you're going to school and stuff, if you follow the program, you know, maybe not super GM, but dog, with your memory, you have an asset that most people don't have. And so, let me just say, I feel like there's a lot of things involved in chess skill. Memory is one of them, though, okay? Memory is one of them. And so, the main thing that I see in your play that can be improved pretty quickly is being more religious with chess principles, right? So in the same way that I know you feel it when your opponent gave you time, you gave your opponent time like with moves like DC3 and refused to develop your stuff. Right. Okay, good. Fantastic. Abdul, welcome to the dojo, boss. All right. So, next up, we got RP Rose. My slower control ratings hadn't really caught up with my blitz when I joined the program, so I probably started in a slightly lower band than I needed to. I spent about 2 months with Zurich 53, which was hugely helpful. Good to know. That was all non-dojo reading in the 17-1800 cohort, but it is assigned reading now. I guess my pie charts will start looking better on the reading side. Okay, let's give this a click over here. So RP Rose making good progress over here. And by the way, it's a very competitive cohort, 1800, 1900. And we gotta go back, we gotta go activity, and we go back one. Lots of good work. Let's see what's going on in the end game. Okay, good. What's this time breakdown? Look at that. So I think that's, for example, dude spending 2 months with Zurich 1953. A lot of people complained about Zurich 1953. It used to be considered one of the classics. We had a guy really go off the rail on it. We're like, this is terrible, this book. I enjoyed it when I was a kid. I appreciate it. Maybe there's some better books. We are redoing the dojo every year on a yearly basis. Really think deeply about it. And, sometimes we remove stuff, like we removed How to Beat Your Dad at Chess, and already we had Ann Norris talking about, hey, Bowers, what happened to that book? So, you can move to St. Louis, leave your spouse. That wasn't Kostya's spouse, that was his girlfriend, Bowers. That was his girlfriend. Okay, so, let's see if we got some games. We do. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. I almost was judgmental. So, the first move where I wasn't sure of my book. Okay. Obviously very frisky for black to play this way. F6. Well, we're just going to say that ain't it. Okay. And then you were looking at, instead of bishop e2, you looked at knight e5 and e5. Another very natural move to look at here is d5 with the intention of knight d4. I feel like we should at least put that variation in on that. Looks crushing. Okay, bishop e2. That ain't it, boss. And now you let it rip. Now you're like, I've had enough, buddy. I've had enough. Well, I'm just going to say that looks pretty good. And this is what happens when you play somebody in the dojo that understands chess principles. You're going to get hurt. Check to the miserable king. Check to the miserable king. Thank you very much. Okay. Just bring it in. Bring it in, son. That can't be bad. That can't be bad. That can't be bad. Oh, this is just a yard sale over here. That wasn't it. Check to the miserable king. 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 This is what he deserves. Oh, he even took on f8. Says queen d4 like so. Okay, either way, boss. Oh, man, this guy doesn't even resign. The black cardinal bows. Oh, look at that. It's just the pain. Checkmate. Well, rated classical game. Got the time, so I assume it was a game online. Yeah, and what I'd say about this is once you are over 1,000, right, you're not going to be dropping material as much. And what your opponents will do is they will give you time, like in this game. And then us breaking out of, those cohorts, gaining up like Mr. R.P. Rose is doing, has to do with exploiting loss of time. And that's what we see here. Welcome to the dojo, my friend. This is just good principle play. Okay, so, great. And, next up we have John Sealander. I think I remember that name. And that's a beautiful graph, dude. Beautiful graph. Made it over 1902. And we'll look at the activity. Go back one. And 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I don't know what's happening. Wait, let's look. How long have they been in the dojo? So joined fairly recently. We do have a game, though. Let's check it out. Okay. So get a reverse Grunfeld. Okay. C4, DC, knight A3. This is an interesting thing. Now again, if you think it's a mistake, you should tell us what you should have done. It's interesting to me because for many years I played the following position with E6, C4, DC, knight A3, this position, which is fascinating. It's a fascinating position. Kasparov and other players had this as white, and you're probably going to play knight E5 soon. Very interesting positional compensation. So is it similar? Well, let's check it out. The issue, of course, is in this position, this bishop is free. Knight E5, okay. And then, right, it seems like we are too slow with our queen B3 sows. And knight D7, okay, let's just say that after knight D7, we got to believe in your position. We got to say we believe in your compensation. should definitely ask ourselves, what, if anything, should Black have done to get himself out of this predicament? One first problem is that Queen d6 doesn't do it because Bishop f4, and there's no like g5 stuff because we tag the Queen like that. But we're not done yet. Let's say Bishop e6, Queen b7. Let's put the rook here for half a second. We might take this move back. Wherever the Queen goes, let's put it here for a second. Is that winning White's coconuts? No, he's going to play knight f7, buddy. What are you doing? So, that's complicated, right? We could talk about this variation maybe. There's interesting stuff to think about. But this is too passive. Okay. So, it'd be good for us to have some times on the clock. And let's see what you say about knight c4. I placed the knight here anticipating an eventual e5 and eyeing the d6 square for my knight. Or if e5 doesn't happen, playing knight a5. Okay. In retrospect, trading knights or knight d3 blockading the d-pawn would have been better. Okay, we want variations and evaluations. It's a tough decision. Now, from my perspective, one of the curious problems of your position is it's not immediately evident where your bishop on c1 wants to go. Knight d7 I truly don't like. And here I think you'd be playing for equality, for example. And I still don't know where your dark square bishop goes. So, if you like knight d3, you should talk to us a little bit about it. Because I feel like the big question is e5. And then I'm sure you felt anxiety here, or I'm guessing you felt anxiety here about just like, well, what do I do? And maybe you play the simplistic bishop d2, which will stop queen e7. But it's still pretty rough. Like, are we afraid of e4? You know? It's not this is a tough position to judge. 8, we could talk about, maybe we play bishop d5. These are the variations I would want to look at. And certainly if I was white, knight d3 is the most natural move because I want to prevent knight c5. It's a really interesting position because I do feel after knight d7, he's put himself in enough of a convoluted spot that you should at least have compensation. Rook b8 is a very frisky move. I'm not sure I like it. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say I don't like it. Because if you play... So he wants to play b5, right? So first of all, you should feel ashamed that your knight got put to a3 mouse. You'd be like, no, I never want to see that knight there. So, for example, you could play bishop d2, and I think that kind of stops b5 because of knight c5. Yeah. Also, with this dude, I don't understand, like, with knight b6, isn't that really annoying because I'm threatening bishop e6? And if I take it, we develop his queen, and he's better. So, I don't like that. So, rook b8, I'm not even sure I get it because bishop d2 stops b5. So the variation might be bishop d2, Now knight a5, I guess we're going to play bishop a5. But also b6 would probably be reasonable. And we still might have a little bit of juice with queen a3. Anyways, these are just variations. Again, if you don't like your move, that's the time to look at something else. And you should definitely be looking for something else if your knight goes to a3, because now that thing's a sad knight indeed. e3, check to the miserable queen, a5. Dang. You're going to be a root canal indeed, my friend, indeed. Oh, that wasn't good. So one of the things, actually, I've just noticed this. So I talk a lot about people giving away time. Another way of, that's often a very similar theme is like the activity of the pieces. And what I want you to see in this mistake is that one reason that people at the levels, let's say between 1800 and 2300, if you tell them that they should have active pieces in a just kind of abstract conversation, you're hanging out, they'll be like, yeah, of course I understand. And you see their games, and a lot of times they don't get it. And so what is White's major problem here? It's not that he's down a pawn. Yes, it's a bummer he's down a pawn. The major problem is that the knight's out of luck, right? Now, so Black's perspective on this should be Bao's. I have to make it so, or at least try to make it so, that this knight never comes out. Now, and then, why don't they get the thing with the active pieces? Because their opponents have consistently freed them. That's one. Okay, now, there's a fair question to ask, though, about the position from the Black perspective. And that is, he's probably, maybe even rightfully, terrified of the move b4. And so, if we want to say that b4 is a mistake, we have to address what should have Black done and how could he deal with b4. Right? So my first question would be, let's trade off White's best piece, right? And now you could take it, or you could play, you could let me take on g2. Let's say you take it for a second, and then play b4. Okay, interesting position. Now, it's become tactical, right? And what's the evaluation of this position? Well, we know why Black played b4. He was terrified of this, right? Now, could Black find an improvement? Maybe, and that's what we should be looking for, right? For example, bishop g4 might be a real pain. That might be a real bummer right there, because I don't want to ever play f3. Right? So, these are the variations we should be looking for. And in general, Black should be like, never, ever, ever will I let that knight free. Okay. I'm not sure I understand that move. You play bishop d2. You might survive now. Okay, now here with rook c1, you abandon the question about what's going on with that pawn. And I definitely think this has got to be our first question. From Black's perspective, I care less about the e7 pawn and more about killing you with this big fat d pawn. So that looks like a good move. That looks like you're playing for tricks. We could talk about other moves for black too. That, okay, is an example where we'd want more annotations here. In general, I don't want to move the rook away from the d pawn. So the most natural move for black is definitely rook b6. Rook b8. Okay. Then you play queen a4. Okay, we definitely want to look for an improvement for black if we can. For example, that looks crude, right? That looks hard to deal with. I'm pinning the bishop and I'm threatening rook b2. Looks hellacious. If maybe rook d8, but there's multiple questions here, right? Multiple questions here about queen c2, about maybe even bishop c3. Looks, we should be able to find a win here for black. So that doesn't look right. And then you like rook d3. Give us a variation, dude. So you're talking about here, here, here is forced, right? Let's ask an obvious question now. Rook d8. How do you get out of the pin? It looks bad. Right? It looks bad. Oh, well, it looks bad for me. That looks bad for me, but you're hanging your stuff, son. You're hanging your stuff, son. Let's look at it a little closer. Rook b2, of course, also looks hard to deal with. Yeah, rook b2. It's hard to imagine surviving this one. Okay, so this went down. Looks hard. Yeah, we really need some variations here, my friends. Like, does d2 win or not? Looks powerful. Check to the miserable. Good trick. Good trick. All right, now we're talking. Little juice. Little juice. Yep. Seconds on the clock. Yeah, bishops. Yeah, black is really blown it here. And here, again, give yourself some variations, dude. Give yourself some variations. If you win f6, I don't know who's better. Yeah, he totally fell apart. Okay, my friends. Let me say, I'm going to give myself a congratulations because I was not sure about being able to do this show. My throat hurts. My intention is tomorrow to come back and do the graduate show that I missed last week because I was also sick. Hopefully my throat will have improved. It's a little bit better right now. And, more dojo streams coming up for me, hopefully, because I've been out of it, dog. I'm just dying. Okay, so let me raid somebody, and I will be back tomorrow. Now, let's go ahead and plan on it, and let's say 1 o'clock tomorrow will be the Dojo redo show. Dojo redo show. Okay, we're gonna raid. Let's raid this dude, NM Robert Ramirez. All right, my friends, that's it. If you haven't joined the dojo, look at this thing. What an amazing platform. built by various people. I'm just one of them. Beautiful site, totally beautiful site. And it's the easy way to structure your playing. It's not the easy way. I mean, there's no easy way to improve, and that's kind of what the whole site is about. There's no easy way. Bows. There's no easy way. But what's great about it, it's kind of like I go to this gym, they make us do all kinds of hard stuff, but I don't want to think about planning the hard stuff, dude. No, I want them to just tell me what to do. Just tell me, boss. And then I'll do it. Okay? All right, everybody.